We're in Freelancer. It was originally created by Microsoft Game Studios, but not everyone knows about it, even though it has a long history with a lot of ups and downs. By some people who played it, and I know a lot of people are going to be jumping out of their seats here when they hear me say this, but a lot of people actually who played it feel that it's perhaps the best space fighting game ever made. A lot of people have opinions about that, and everyone's opinion is valid. They may have a different game that they appreciate, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the bottom line is Freelancer does have a core following, and it's enough that people like the fans there at SWAT Portal have actually released this Crossfire mod, which is perhaps the most ambitious mod ever made in history. But we'll be going a lot more into detail about that in another video. Right now, what I'm going to do for those players who actually have never played this before is go into some of the controls and talk a little bit about how to play. So, especially people who are beginners to Freelancer will find some useful information in here. I can't say that I'm the absolute best player in the world, but I have logged a ton of hours in Freelancer in the original game, and I just installed Crossfire 1.9. So this is going to be my first playthrough ever with the Crossfire 1.9 mod installed, which not only changes all the textures in the game, creates new graphical effects, and allows you to play in 1920 by 1080 resolution, but it also continues the story where the original Freelancer left off, so it increases the game size dramatically, and it should be an absolutely amazing experience. Because I'm a huge Freelancer fan already, that makes it all the better. So I hope you people find this somewhat useful. Right now we're in the docking bay, but let's get right to it, because this is about controls here. It's not about trading or purchasing or buying new ships or anything like that.
Omicron 1-8. This is West Point Academy. Everything's a go for launch.
Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about here is the weapon systems. Because every time I start playing this game again, I forget what I'm doing and I get into battle and all of a sudden my weapons won't work. And it usually results in me getting blown apart. What you gotta know here is that each of these weapons can be switched on or off, and they can be toggled by left clicking them. If they're off, they're going to be a sort of a light blue color, and if they're on, then they're going to be green. So typically you're going to want to keep your weapons hot so that when you go into battle, you're going to be ready. Let's switch all of the weapons off and I'll show you what happens. Nothing happens. The weapons are deactivated, so we can't do anything. And let's switch on. That's what happens when we switch one of the weapons on. And two weapons. And with the turret, you can switch as many of them on as you want, or you could fight with only some of them on. Usually you'll want to go in with a lot of firepower, because this game definitely isn't easy. One of the main complaints about this game is the difficulty, actually. The next thing we're going to discuss is basic flight control. Now, often you hear the word navigation used when you're talking about this kind of stuff. In this case, there's a separate navigation component to the game. that we're going to talk about in a different tutorial. By flight control, I mean maneuvering the ship and learning how to move and thrust and so on. In this game, there's two modes. There's the mouse steering mode, and there's the cursor mode. The cursor mode is the one that you use to control the elements in the interface. And the mouse steering mode is the one that you actually use to control the direction of the ship. And also, you control the aiming of the weapons with the mouse steering mode. And you use the space bar to toggle between the two. When you're in the mouse steering mode, you'll notice that you have this target type of thing on the screen, and you'll see arrows where the motion of the ship is tending. To control the thrust of the ship, you can either use the mouse wheel, it's forward to speed up and backwards to slow down, or I believe you can use the W key to speed up and the S key to slow down. You can also enable the afterburners. Typically it's with the tab key. And as you can see, when you're using the afterburners, at the bottom of the screen there's an indication, a percentage indicator of how much power you have left on your afterburners. Down here in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you might see a placard here, and there's a lot of controls in here, typically involving dealing with other spatial bodies or other ships and things like that. So the first one just shows you what's important. These are actually filter buttons. And the second one shows you different ships. You can select these ships. And these are the buttons, things you can do to each ship. But I'll go into those in a little bit more detail in a second. This final button here, I don't know why I'm picking this one first, but that one actually shows you a more detailed look at the ship. It shows you individual weapons. You can select each weapon and target that specifically, or you can select a part of the ship. We've got a countermeasure dropper, a mine dropper there, or you could actually blow off the thrusters. That's one of the great things about this game, is just all the details. I just scanned the ship with the little plane button there, and we can see pretty much everything that's on the ship there. Cargo and fittings. The little satellite dish there actually hails them, so you can speak to individual pilots.
We're on a patrol mission from Norfolk Shipyard.
Just left click on them and click the satellite dish.
What else do you want?
And those buttons show the different entities in the environment. That one shows the space stations. So we can actually click on the space stations for whatever reason we want. The next things we want to talk about are these pilot modes up here. There's a dock button, there's a go to, and there's a free move button. In the free move mode, we can just move around however we want to. The arrow underneath the movement mode is the cruise button. And what that does is puts you into a cruise speed travel mode. Basically, it's the fastest that you're going to be able to travel without going into the trade lanes. So if you're using the cruise speed in free movement mode, you can basically just go wherever you want to. And that's what I'm doing here. Well, that was not at all planned, but you're going to get to see a little bit of the combat here. This is why people complained about the difficulty. The enemies will just come in and hammer you. And for a beginning player, it can be a challenge. Even for a seasoned player, it's challenging. I mean, these guys that I'm fighting are only level 2 here, and they're just relentless. What that was me tractoring in all the loot. You basically push B to do that. But you can only tractor in the loot from enemies that you've killed. If one of the NPC ships get the kill, then you get no loot. So you do have an incentive to really fight hard and blast them apart before the NPCs get their hands on them. Even though I blasted those guys apart, they got me spooked. So I'm gonna get out of here. So I'm gonna click on the West Point to California jump gate and then press dock. And let's see what happens.
Dock access granted.
What that did was just put us into the trade lane. And that's the fastest possible way that we're gonna get there. Another thing you can do if you see other ships around, you can actually click them and then click the formation button up here. And that'll allow you to enter into formation with other ships.
Free flight.
But let's get out of here at this point. Let's go back to West Point. Oh, and another thing that I forgot to mention here is the nanobots. And you can see it says G there. That means you hit the G key. Those repair your ship in a pinch. And the use shield battery. That's the F key. And that boosts up your shield in a tight situation. So another thing we're going to do is docking in a station. So you just select the station in the actual main screen or in the UI, and then you push the dock button. And that concludes our first tutorial. I hope you get some usage out of it, and I hope this inspires some people to play this fantastic game, because it certainly is one of the most amazing games out there. I seriously believe that this is one of the finest games ever made. Of course, that could be said about a lot of games. I mean, personally, I would say that about a lot of games. But it definitely is an underrated game that deserves more attention. And it deserves mainstream attention, specifically for the fact that it's a great game, and all of us who are fans are dreaming that someday there's going to be a sequel. So the more people that are interested in this game, the more people that play this game and share the experience, the more chance there will be of a Freelancer 2 coming out someday. So try this out. Get in touch with other fans, talk about it, and hopefully you too will feel this ultimate desire for a sequel. So thanks for watching, folks, and stay tuned for more in the future.